Hello everyone, it's Silent Mark here. I'm making this video today because I had a couple of emails asking about the way in which I set up my universe mode for my Monday Night Wars playlist that I'm doing, and more specifically the stats and things for the superstars, because the way I've done things is a little bit different than perhaps is the traditional, and so I thought I would just take the time to just kind of briefly go through it with everyone because if it's something that other people want to do, it really can make your universe experience a lot better than the traditional setup. So, what I've done, starting with the stats and the superstars themselves, is I've referred to this spreadsheet, which is something I've been working on for a number of years, and I've modified it each year with each new game. And it requires you to be a little bit brutal with the stats and things of the various wrestlers because I find that the variation between the highest, the best of the best, if you like, and the lower or even jobber classes isn't nearly wide enough. The gulf is just too narrow, and so matches tend to be a toss up when they really shouldn't be. Like it shouldn't be a great shocker when Brock Lesnar beats someone, a cruiserweight or something of that nature, or if Goldberg, should beat down Disco Inferno, it shouldn't be a great stunner to everyone. So what I've done is I base mine purely on how I intend to book those people, and you can see it here. So I have all of the stats listed, and I assign them accordingly. So first of all, obviously I have the description on the right, so it helps me remember exactly what does what. And so if I intend to use them as a jobber class, their stats, for the most part, will be between 30 and 40, depending on whether it's the upper part of that tier or the lower part of that tier, and also some variance depending on the individual superstar themselves. So it's between 30 and 40, as you can see, for arm power, leg power, grapple, defense, grapple offense, running offense, aerial offense, and then the range I leave down to the individual because there are some people, high flyers, for example, who should have a high range regardless of their stats or their other stats. So, whereas, for example, someone like Andre the Giant would have essentially no aerial range whatsoever because he has no business being on the top rope. Power submission offense. Again, I feel like these are a little bit too close together for the most part. So for the jobber class, they're between 30 and 40. And the same thing for the technical. The reversals, much the same situation here. The body durability between 30 and 40. Now, you'll notice that for the arm and leg ones, and this is true across the board, I have them set the range lower than the body one. Now, the reason I do this is because the vast majority of moves in the game focus on either the body or the head, which is fine. But a lot of people have, limb-specific submission holds and things like that, which require, you kind of want to work on those limbs and get them into the orange or red. But the problem, of course, being that the specific limb targeting moves are very limited. There's only like one, one for the side, one for the head, one for the legs in any given situation. And so you either find yourself having to repeat the same moves over and over and over again in order to get there, which can be a little bit tedious. Or you do like I've done, and you reduce the durability of both of those things so that neither arms or legs require quite as much targeted work to get them to a position that you would want to get them to in order to make submissions a bit more viable in that sense. The submission defenses, again, for the jobber class, in between 30 and 40. Pin escape between 30 and 40. Strength is another one which I leave to the individual. I find that, again, this one, regardless of the class of superstar, the physical strength is going to very much be dependent on the individual. It's quite possible to be freakishly strong, but also just not a good wrestler, someone who is not necessarily going to be booked at the top of the card. So for me, someone like Braun Strowman would be a good example. Not that he's necessarily a jobber, but he was freakishly strong. So that's why that one is set individually based on the superstar. The stamina I have between 30 and 40. I don't want them running around all over the place. I want to run out of gas pretty quickly. Agility and movement speed both are set individually. I do this because, again, same kind of situation. It's perfectly possible to have, someone who is a cruiserweight size, who's very agile, very quick, but otherwise is kind of in that jobber tier. And it would be silly to have them be physically slow as well as being otherwise ineffective. So those are always done individually. For recovery, special, and finisher, I find the default settings in the game for these is too fast. The, especially in AI versus AI matches and things like that, you tend to see that the finishers start coming up far quicker than they should before a real beatdown has been put into effect to allow someone to be put into the orange or the red. So they're not necessarily super likely to finish the match, at least not the first time round. So this way, this slows the whole thing down. Jobbers take a very long time to get either finishers or specials, and a long time to recover as well, because I also find that recovery is far, far too quick in this game. Now, moving on to the next tier, mid-card. So that's your mid-card title division, essentially. So anyone going for the Intercontinental or United States titles, we have the stats, broadly speaking, between the 50s and 60s. We're starting to get up there a little bit now. Same individual thing with the aerial range. And the submission ones you'll see slightly higher than the jobber level. And once again, you'll see the body durability here between 50 and 60. But the arm and leg ones between 40 and 50. Again, same reason as before. It should be a little bit easier to work on limbs than this game is really designed for. Otherwise, essentially the same kind of setup down as far as recovery, which this time is now at 40. Again, I feel like the wrestlers get up way too quickly in these games, especially in the last few years. And this lets you set up better spots and makes the selling, if you like, a little bit more realistic. The special for them, that's the signature move bar, set to 50, and the finisher one at 40. This tends to make for more balanced matches again. They're not getting them quite as quickly. Now on to high card. These are your guys in your heavyweight division. Here we have now we're moving into a higher range between 70 and 80 usually. Sometimes the upper limit tops out before 80, so this is just a guideline. Similar situation here. The submission technical and power between 60 and 70, depending on which end of that division you want them at. Everything else much the same. Once again, arm and leg durability, the range is slightly lower than the body one. Stamina this time between 70 and 80. In other words, they can go a little bit longer without running out of gas. Although this one can be individual as well, a little bit open to interpretation. And recovery is 50. They get up a little bit faster than your mid-card and jobber guys. Specials at 70. And the finisher is set to 60. So theirs come along a little bit faster. So now when you have a situation where a high-card guy is fighting a jobber or even a mid-carder, they will tend to get their specials and finishers a little bit quicker, as well as doing more damage generally because of their higher stats, meaning these people in these tiers are more likely to be ready to be beaten by the time the finishers come along. And I'll show you an example at the end. I'm going to pick someone who I have as essentially a jobber class, and I will put them in against either probably someone like Brock Lesnar or Goldberg, and you'll see the how one-sided it is and should be under those circumstances. Whereas, for example, Lesnar versus Goldberg would be a very different situation entirely. So finally, we have the God tier, and this is for your Goldbergs, your Lesnars, your John Cena's, Cody Rhodes, your Roman Reigns, the real top of the pile. From here, we start out essentially with somewhere between the maximum and minus 10 of the maximum, again, depending on where in that God tier they belong. Power submission and technical submission offense now goes to between 70 and 80. Makes it very easy for these guys to tap someone out. Again, as I feel it should be. All the reversals, again, this time between 80 and the max that it allows, depending on the individual superstar. Body durability between 80 and max. And arm and leg still lower, but very much high, between 70 and 80. So, then we're into submission defense. Again, these guys should be very difficult to make them tap out, and the way I have it set up, they certainly are. It's not impossible, but it's hard. They, in this case, have between 80 and max. The pin escape is between 80 and max. Strength individual, obviously. Stamina between 80 and max. And they have recovery also at 50, the same as the high card guys. Their specials at 70, the same as the high card guys, because you don't want them getting the specials too quickly. But their finisher one is higher. So whereas the high card tops out at 60, the God tier tops out at 80. So you can expect to see lots of F5s and jackhammers and things like that. That's the way I like it to be. Now, moving on from that just a little bit, to forgive me, it's my Roomba making noise. We go on to some of the paybacks. Now, these are a little bit of a work in progress for me, but the way I have it is the resiliency obviously isn't available to anyone over 85 anyway, and the way I have my stats done, those are now few and far between. Very few people over 85. But regardless, only people in the upper God tier are even allowed in my setup to have resiliency. Low blows for the individual, so your heals, your Ric Flairs, and the like. Poison Mist, obviously, that comes down to the individual. So Tajiri, Asuka, those are the kind of people that have that. Power of the Punch, again, same kind of thing. Your Logan Pauls. Run-in, I reserve mostly for people who are members of factions, because I don't like the whole random run-in thing. Like, if you're just a guy with no allies or enemies and you have the run-in payback, it could just call in anybody, and I find that a little bit weird. So I tend to reserve it for people in factions, unless I have someone who just happens to have an open spot and needs something to fill. Move Thief individual. There's that certain kind of cocky, brash personality type that would use that one, so I reserve it for that. Blackout, I reserve for the spooky characters. So your Deadman version Undertaker and the Fiend, that kind of thing. Soul Siphon, same thing, although I don't use it because I think it's a bit silly. But if I were going to, it is reserved for those people in particular. Rage, very much like Resiliency, I think is a little bit overpowered. So that one is reserved for the upper and God tier guys. Freeze is only for mid-carders or above. There's no reason the jobber should be intimidating someone into freezing. Let's see. Iron Jaw, same thing. Upper and God in this case, though, just because I feel like that one, again, shouldn't really be happening with jobbers and things. Bully reserved exclusively for heals. Dirty Breaker for the individuals. Ref Bump for the individuals. And Adrenaline Rush for upper and God tier only. It seems strict, but it does mean that you don't have people doing things they just shouldn't be able to do. So that is where we are with regards to the paybacks and the individual stats. Now, as for the game itself, you might be wondering about sliders and things like that. So this is, I'm going to show you now how I have the whole thing set up. So difficulties on hard. Reason being that, well, you could say, why not play it on legend? But the thing with legend is it tends to be just a big reversal fest, and it gets boring quickly. So I've found other ways to adjust the difficulty to compensate. So hard seems like a good sweet spot in a broad sense. Weight detection simulation, stamina normal, submission, however you like it, pin game, these are all however you like it. I have made some alterations here, I think. So Trading Blows is on. I like Trading Blows, I think it's fine. Chain Wrestling too. Rope Break Automatic I've turned off. The auto reversal for ground attacks I've turned on just because that could get a little bit tedious sometimes as well. Blood on, obviously. Instant recovery I've turned off. Reason being, the AI will just spam the hell out of this all the time. And so there's no slider to adjust the frequency of it, so I simply turned it off because it really has not been implemented well in 25. So that's how that is. Everything else there is fine. Presentation, this is all however you want it to be. It's entirely up to you. Now, balancing. So I'm not going to go through all of these individually. Suffice to say that I've run many, many, many test matches, adjusting these gradually over time to try and get something approaching real competition without it just being a constant counter fest, which is annoying. So I'm going to go through them just slowly enough for you to see, in case anyone wants to try these out. And this does make, in my opinion, for some really good matches with some really good finishes, especially since most of my universe playlist is AI versus AI. This really does keep things interesting. I do get the occasional match, but not that much. Referee downtime I jacked up a little bit because I find the referees get up too quickly as well. So this helps that. As well as superstar downtime. I may increase that a little more. I'm wary of that one because I don't want to get too many countouts. This is the basic reversals one. I could even reduce these a little bit more in order to make it a little harder. But I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. And so you can see here as well the AI difficulty damage scaling. That basically means the AI at higher levels does more damage to you. So I've turned that up somewhat, again, to compensate for the fact that it's on hard mode and not legendary. Targeting is however you want. And then we have the minigame settings. Again, lots of testing to get these to where they are. Because I found that finishers, while as I mentioned before, they were obtained very, very quickly, it also meant that they were kicked out of more often than not. And I don't like too many false finishes except where they would really apply. And as standard, they applied all the time. Very annoying. So this way, the way I've set it up here, it means that, a good finisher from a high-tiered guy against a lower-tier guy, highly likely to finish the match, as opposed to, a jobber kicking out of an F5 or breaking out of the Kimura lock. So this way seems to work pretty well for me. And the mini games, I haven't really messed with these too awfully much. That may be something I address at some point, but for the most part, I've just left them the way they are. And I'm pretty happy with that. So, if you haven't actually seen any of the playlist, and are perhaps wondering exactly how this shakes out, let's go to WrestleMania. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show kind of basically both ends of the spectrum. So I'm going to pick Brock Lesnar. Again, he's at 97 in the game. He is ranked very highly. Should be very, very difficult to beat him. And I'm going to pick some. You'll see a lot of these guys are down all the way down at 30. This was just to make it easier for me because these are people I have no intention of ever using, and it means I don't have to keep looking at them all the time. So the regular Punk is at 87, the one I use, but all the variations are all at 30. Never going to use them. So let's pick someone who is what I would consider to be in the kind of jobber to lower card area. Let's go with him. He's one of the guys from My Rise, I think. I did, for a minute, consider using him, but ended up not doing so. That's not what I meant. Because I didn't need him, ultimately, to fill in. I had enough modded characters, I was able to fill out the rosters enough for my purposes. So, I apologize if this has been a little bit boring, but for those who are interested, it might come in handy for some people. So I am just going to go ahead and do that again. And just run this match AI versus AI. And let you guys see it. I'm going to stop talking so you can see how this plays out. And you'll see for yourself that the way I have it set, Brock Lesnar really should give an absolute beatdown to El Mago Jr. So let's check that out. I'm going to set it to AI versus AI. And when we're all said and done, if you like it, or if you have any suggestions, maybe you want to try this and tweak it, and you have any suggestions for how it may even be improved, you can leave a comment. In the meantime, enjoy, and I will catch you next time.
Just why that is, guys. Few men are more dangerous than Brock Lesnar, period, Cole. Just consider how intense he gets against his rivals and opponents outside the ring. Then, think about what his mindset has to be once he's been given the green light to do his worst. I'd actually rather not think about that, Corey, though I suppose we're about to see that mindset in action here tonight. Man, what timing on that counter. Head scissor. Vicious knee drop. Ooh, he fends that off. Target locked in. He knows it's that time. Using the rope to their advantage. Very effective. Pulverizing the arm is a great way to create an advantage. Basically forcing your opponent to fight one-handed. Oh, and El Mago fights back. Incredible athleticism. And just like that, he kicked the tempo up a notch. Shoulders down, penny predicament. Still too fresh to stay down. Boom! There are few superstars in the world that strike fear in the competition quite like Brock Lesnar. Is there any way to overcome that level of fear for his opponent? That's tough, Cole. Facing Lesnar head-on is ill-advised and will only raise the ire of the beast. You've got to stay out of reach from Lesnar and choose your spots wisely and act quickly. Collar and elbow tie-up. Drive them toward the ropes, looking to keep some control. Oh, not quite what Brock intended. Look at this, going right after the left arm. Gotta hurt. Hard to grab or apply a proper hold after a move like that. Ooh. Heading up to the top rope. This is avalanche arm drag. That wasn't just a move. That was a statement. He's slow to get up and unaware of the massive target on his back. Yeah, Umaga Jr. looked energized on that one. Outrageous athleticism on the Hurricanrana. It takes a certain level of athleticism to pull that off.
Turned inside out with a desperation clothesline. It retaliates with a counter.
Picking up speed, building momentum. Trying to change the tides of the match. No trying, the superstar has changed the tides of the match.
Here's the cover.
Could be it.
Manages to escape before the 3 count.
At this point in the match, that could have gone either way. Oh, big mistake, and that error could be costly.
Reversal. And that turns things around. Totally helpless at the moment.
Double axe handle.
He's going for the pin. And he kicks out at 2.
Couldn't quite slam the door yet. Just end this now. Oh, he's playing possum.
Shoulder up, and the referee ends the count.
Not time to expect victory yet. Sharp punch.
I can't imagine the pain being felt right now.
He'll be getting into a dire situation soon. Sharp elbow to the gut turns that one around. Forearm club.
Caught in a bad spot. Right to the throat.
The Beast ready to victimize another one.
Brooks.
Come on, locked in.
He's in a bad position.